In a modern world, resources from Earth are needed for human needs. Everything around us comes from our planet, but sometimes exploitation of the natural environment can be incredibly extreme. One form of this is deforestation. Why is it bad, and what are some of the side effects the Earth is experiencing from it? Let's find out. Deforestation refers to the large-scale removal of trees and forests, typically for agricultural expansion, urban development, or logging. The history of deforestation dates back thousands of years, beginning with the advent of agriculture and the rise of early civilizations. Ancient societies, such as those in Mesopotamia, the Mediterranean, and China, cleared vast tracts of forest for farming and settlement. The pace of deforestation accelerated during the Industrial Revolution in the 18th and 19th centuries, driven by the demand for timber, agricultural land, and resources to fuel economic growth. In the 20th and 21st centuries, deforestation has continued, particularly in the tropical regions like the Amazon, Southeast Asia, and Central Africa, largely due to logging, cattle ranching, and palm oil plantations. Modern efforts to address deforestation focus on sustainable practices, conservation initiatives, and international agreements aimed at preserving remaining forests and restoring degraded lands. While these are noble protocols, deforestation has become very extreme, especially in developing countries within the tropics. It's so pronounced that whole habitats of fauna and flora have been uplifted and destroyed. To make matters worse, these habitats are among the most fragile on Earth, creating a biodiversity catastrophe. In the past, many temperate nations in the mid-latitudes deforested large vast tracts of land, especially in Europe, Asia, and North America, particularly in the eastern United States. Back in the late 19th century and early 20th centuries, much of the eastern United States was made up of either cities or farmland and few suburbs. Before colonization, much of this area was covered in dense forest. But this changed when lots of these forests were transformed into farmland. This persisted until the 1950s. After that decade, suburbs grew immensely on account of city dwellers moving to rural areas. Many farms were sold to developers to build housing developments for prospective buyers. However, despite the building of many homes, some defunct farms weren't developed and ultimately became forests once again. In addition, conservation efforts helped create protected state and county preserves, creating reforestation, the reverse of deforestation. New Jersey is the densest state in population density with 1,300 people per square mile, yet the state is still covered by 42% forest. Other eastern states, as well as European nations, have seen reforestation occur, which is beneficial to restoring biodiversity. While some smaller-scale deforestation still occurs in the developed world, nowadays most of the widespread deforestation takes place in the tropical and subtropical developing world. This is primarily seen in South America, Africa, and Southeast Asia. Brazil, by far, has the world's highest deforestation rate, cutting down around 4 million acres. The Amazon rainforest, which is mostly within Brazil, is the victim of this deforestation. Much of the deforested land in Brazil is used either for agriculture or urbanization. India is second in deforestation rates, cutting down 1.65 million acres of trees. As of this year, India is set to overtake China as a population leader with 1.4 billion people. So deforestation is a result of the population increases, thus needing more land for cities and agricultural needs. Indonesia, within the equatorial latitudes, comes in third with deforestation rates of 1.6 million acres. Similarly to India, Indonesia is a rapidly growing nation with around 276 million people, fourth worldwide. In Africa, Tanzania has the highest deforestation rate at 1.2 million acres a year. Tanzania has 67 million people and is rapidly growing, just like the other African nations. Other than that, The next 16 nations in deforestation rates are considered developing or industrializing nations, which means they're still growing in population. The more people, the more resources are needed, as well as land, which leads to higher deforestation rates. Mass deforestation has detrimental effects on the Earth, locally and internationally. These effects affect all spheres of the planet. Worldwide, forests, both tropical and temperate ones, act as a carbon sink. They absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere during the process of photosynthesis, which helps mitigate climate change. The carbon is stored in the wood, leaves, and the soils in the forest. Tropical forests produce continuous photosynthesis because of their lower latitudes, high sun angles, and year-round warm temperatures. When forests are disturbed or cleared through activities like logging or deforestation, they can become sources of carbon emissions instead. This carbon enters the atmosphere, thus increasing CO2 and other greenhouse gases, creating climatic changes. Local changes for deforestation are very much ecological. Deforestation leads to the destruction of habitats for countless species. This can result in decreased biodiversity, driving many species to endangerment or extinction. For example, in Brazil, the Spixus macaque became functionally extinct in the wild primarily due to habitat destruction from deforestation, along with trapping for the bird trade. A few individuals exist in captivity, and there are efforts for re-establishment. In addition, other organisms such as the orangutan and tiger are vulnerable to extinction, especially if more forests are torn down. Internationally, deforestation may alter the habitats of disease-carrying animals, such as mosquitoes, leading to the spread of diseases like malaria and Zika. A significant outbreak of the Zika virus began in Brazil in early 2015 and quickly spread to other parts of South and North America, especially South Florida, which is tropical. Viruses like this may spread easier because of deforestation. Another local impact is water cycle distribution. Forests are integral to the water cycle. They help regulate water runoff and maintain the atmospheric moisture levels. Without trees, areas can become drier, which impacts agricultural productivity and water availability for human consumption. And globally, the international economy benefits from the products of forests, such as timber and other forest-derived goods. However, unsustainable deforestation can lead to a decline in these resources, affecting economic activities and trade. Solutions to deforestation are complex and convoluted, and it's not an overnight fix. Some staunch environmentalists are for completely ending deforestation. On paper, it might sound okay, but in reality, at this time, it's virtually impossible. As mentioned before, many of the deforesting nations are developing or industrializing and growing in population. So, to sustain the growth, resources including wood products are needed. However, in the future, perhaps decades down the road, deforestation can ultimately end. One way is by utilizing sustainable practices. Promoting and enforcing sustainable forestry management practices that allow for the use of forest resources without leading to degradation can be a big help. Lots of multinational corporations use recycled paper products instead of ones directly from trees. In developing nations with widespread deforestation, expanding and effectively managing protected areas is essential to preserve critical ecosystems and biodiversity. Also, these nations can adapt to what's known as deforestation, which is planting of new forest in areas previously not forested. Nations such as Brazil, India, and Indonesia have lots of land, so doing this can be rather easy. Another way to promote the stop of deforestation is involving local communities in the management of forest resources, which can lead to more sustainable outcomes. Deforestation is going to continue for the foreseeable future. It's not going to end instantly. However, there are steps the nation can take to limit or possibly halt deforestation. Trees and biomass are needed for living organisms on Earth to sustain life, including humanity. If all trees were to magically disappear, the Earth would be headed straight into a collapse of ecosystems and the extinction of all life forms. Most people, even skeptics, would agree that trees and biomass are beneficial to Earth. That concludes this week's episode. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to leave your feedback about deforestation, please do so in the comment section below. Also, be sure to subscribe to my channel, Our World, Our Planet, Our Home, to view more videos about geography and earth science. Until next time!